Well, now you're weakened. Time to finish you off. Welcome back. CarmenRider again with the next video about QuintonReviews videos on Grade A Under A. If you haven't watched part 1, links in the description. Ready to finish what we started? Let's go.
So tell me about a weakness of yours. Common tactic with this question is to write a strength, but word it as a weakness. Like, I usually am such a perfectionist with my work that I'll give up all of my spare time to make sure my shit gets done at the cost of me own family. Fuck 'em.
After I posted my first video discussing the character of Grade and the confusion surrounding it, I got quite a few comments from people saying that they were upset to see Grade falter to these sorts of petty real-world comments, because they used to like him and enjoy his content. You see, it's really easy for us to turn on someone like Leafy, because I've never seen a single video of his that I've ever even been able to easily sit through. His content is terrible, and when it came out that he was supposedly just as bad behind the scenes, we were totally open to that being true. But when someone we like turns out to be terrible, it takes some time to accept it. The only reason that anyone refused to believe the allegations against Bill Cosby was that because most of us grew up watching at least one of the shows that he was involved in.
Are you seriously comparing Grade A Under A being kind of a dick to Bill Cosby being a rapist? That's a bit of an overreaction, isn't it?
If the same allegations had transpired against someone like Kenny G, everyone would have just been like, okay, that makes sense.
Not really. I honestly don't believe allegations like this until proof comes out. And you shouldn't either. We've heard enough fake stories from the SJWs over on Twitter, and we need to start taking allegations like this with a grain of salt until proof comes out. Sorry if that was a bit off topic, but I needed to get that out there.
Grade A Under A has not committed anything close to a Bill Cosby offense.
So why compare him to Bill Cosby? If anything, it seems like you're trying to demonize him by associating him with Bill Cosby.
I suggested in my first video that Grade A has, apparently, not been playing a character at all.
He hasn't been.
That his controversial, real-life interactions being very close to how he writes his actual videos means that the person who we presumed was being played up as a persona was in fact completely genuine. Since then, I've read that there are some truths in that statement. It would seem that he's constantly playing half a real character and half his honest persona.
He isn't really. He is playing himself. Again, like in the last video, I compared his videos to the illustrations in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. While most commentary channels, including myself, do play it half real and half character, he doesn't do that.
Which muddies the water quite a bit in terms of what Grade we're constantly seeing in each of his videos. In his latest video, is Grade overreacting to drama as a joke? Is it the same Grade who ranted about interviews as a gag, or is it a new Grade who wants us to take his words seriously while still keeping up the same tone and demeanor?
You thought him ranting about interviews was a gag? No, it wasn't. That was genuine.
Well, in the end, I've decided that I don't really care. Let's just pretend that it's definite that the real-world Grade and the YouTube Grade are two different people. Let's accept, just for this argument, that the White Void persona of the Grade A series is just that, a persona.
Alright, fine. It's not true, but fine.
Under these pretenses, is it suddenly fine for Grade to transition from videos where he's just joking about pretty universally held concepts that won't offend anyone to topics where there are variant opinions and nuances that the video is not going to be willing to accept?
Grade A Under A doesn't give a shit if he offends you. The point of his videos are to give his opinion, not agree with the masses.
My answer is no. Not as a moral take, a definitive statement, but simply as a critical opinion. Personally, I think I made a mistake in ever trying to expose anyone. I don't think that's what my channel's about. I don't expose people.
Then why did you do it? Why did you attempt to expose Grade A Under A? Yeah, you did it poorly, but why did you do it at all? If your job isn't to expose people, then why did you pretty much do an expose video on him?
And when people say that Grade should stop doing drama videos, they don't say it because they think that he should be above those petty squabbles or should remove himself from other people's business. They say it because his drama videos are fundamentally terrible. They don't fit the genre, they don't have any backing, they rarely even present a coherent argument, and worst of all, they're boring. So boring.
Something being boring is, for the most part, subjective. Also, I think he provides a lot of good points in his videos. I even showed some of them off in the last video.
You can't even imagine. Grade's drama videos are stuck in a particular limbo. They're not as funny or as inherently relatable as a lot of his other content, but they're also really terrible examples of how you should try and present a point of view. They're not really amusing or entertaining, but it's hard to take them seriously as attempts to talk about topics to real people. Grade's Everything Wrong with YouTube series is perhaps the one that he's the most openly proud of. It's the one that he uses to constantly defend himself from people who disagree with the direction of his channel.
No, he uses it when a bunch of assholes try to tell him that trying to better YouTube is pointless. It's not gonna do anything. Again, he didn't single-handedly save YouTube, but he has a positive outlook on the site's future, something most creators don't have. Most creators have a why even bother attitude when it comes to problems on YouTube. But Grade A has a more positive outlook, which if more people thought like him, YouTube may be at least somewhat fixable.
And for seemingly a very good reason. From the outside, this two-part series looks like it's based around discussing the many policy problems with YouTube. However, partway into the first video, Grade stops to discuss an incident where a reactor channel showed off his content and he wasn't able to make any money from that person's video. And you think to yourself, alright, that's a pretty solid example. And then he talks more about this reactor, and more about this reactor, and more about this reactor. And then, after 11 minutes, he's finally done ranting about this dude. He goes back to talking about reaction channels, and nope, he's still talking about the guy again. He went back. Why did he do this?
Well, considering content theft is a big problem on YouTube, of course he's gonna bring up his run-in with reaction channels. Plus, just like last time, say it with me now, you're leaving out context. In his Everything Wrong with YouTube Part 2, he goes over different channels that break YouTube's community guideline. Link in the description if you want to see that video.
I don't have that much of a problem with Grade making fun of or complaining about YouTubers that he doesn't like. It has proven to be mildly entertaining in the past. The annoying thing is when he tries to advertise this as a good deed that he is doing for the community, or when he tries to act as if riffing on the content creators means disproving what they have to say. The series in question that I'm discussing wasn't entitled Reaction Channels Piss Me Off Part 2. It was called Everything Wrong with YouTube.
Well, reaction channels are a big part of what's wrong with YouTube. They steal content, they steal views from others, and abuse fair use and copyright law. And again, Grade A went more in depth in Part 2.
Whether you dislike him or not, Tyrone the Reactor is not one of the biggest problems with YouTube.
True, but reaction channels are. Tyrone is one of the big ones, and Grade A had his first run-in with him, so of course he would go after him.
In fact, I would go as far as to say that no one person is in the top 500 things wrong with YouTube.
Still that naive, Quinton? I can't tell whether I should feel sorry for you or laugh at your lack of understanding.
But, according to Grade, not only is he a prime example of what's wrong with YouTube, he is in total 30% of what is wrong with YouTube. Why spend this much time discussing someone who doesn't even have anything to do with the title of your video?
He does. The video's full title was Everything That's Wrong with YouTube, Part 1 out of 2, Copyright, Reactions, and Fanboyism. But you left out the part that said Copyright, Reactions, and Fanboyism. I can only assume that's intentional.
Oh wait, I'm doing that thing again, aren't I? The thing where I ask a question but the answer is blatantly obvious. Grade A under A loves drama. He adores it, and there's nothing wrong with that. He loves to blow off steam on people that he doesn't like, and he pulls such great satisfaction from just roasting them unapologetically and calling them names and sending his fans after them.
He only sent his fans after someone once. And again, he hasn't addressed this. He hasn't sent his fans to anyone else since then. Plus, the block button exists for a reason.
But he doesn't like it when people call it drama, or when they call his channel a drama channel.
Because he does more than just drama videos. Of course he doesn't want to be called a drama channel, because drama is not his main focus. You wouldn't call Frederick Knudsen a drama channel, would you? Well, yes, he does cover topics that involve drama, like Wings of Redemption, Darkside Phil, the CWC, and Digital Homicide. He also covers non-drama related topics, like the hurdy-gurdy, furries, vaporwave, and the SCP Foundation. Just like Frederick, Grade A Under A doesn't just talk about drama. He talks about other topics as well. Calling either of these channels drama channels is like calling McDonald's a French fry store. Yes, they do make French fries, but that's not their main focus.
So he puts up barriers around his content, so he can say what he did was good drama, and that he fought to make YouTube great again.
Because that is good drama. Not all drama is bad. There is good drama out there, but there is also bad drama. Good drama is stuff like hashtag where's the fair use, hashtag make YouTube great again, and the stuff against Keemstar, because it helps the site improve.
To this day, Grade still acts as if this two-part series was a legitimate exploration of the many issues that YouTube has, but it's really not.
Of course it's not a full exploration. That would be impossible. But it did show a bunch of problems with YouTube and showcase them to a wider audience, and show people how they can fix YouTube.
It's just structured to be a list of people that Grade didn't like at that time. Most Where's the Fair Use videos were about how too many people were getting shut down and claimed with copyright. Grade's video is about how he would like to shut down more people.
Yeah, more people who were breaking fair use laws. Again, you're leaving out context.
Doug Walker says that YouTube needs to stop treating users like they're guilty before innocent. Grade says that we need to reverse what we've done, but do it to more people as well?
No, he says that YouTube is being hypocritical about who they punish. Again, you're leaving out context.
YouTube is based around its 7 main rules, called its community guidelines. But despite them being the rules, pretty much every single one of them is being broken right now. This is obviously something that YouTube should care about, right? But it doesn't! It just lets it carry on. And to make things worse, rather than punishing the channels breaking these rules, they've been punishing ones that haven't done anything!
You just have to understand, compared to Where's the Fair Use, this video is so unhinged and unprofessional and, I'll be honest, embarrassing for the community.
Grade A Under A has never presented himself as being a professional.
Even though the aim is to help fix the fucking website we're on, you still get some brain-dead idiots complaining that this is all drama and you're just doing it for the views. And the drama video that I did make 2 months ago got the CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, to tweet at us and start listening to us about how to make YouTube better, who was telling me not to waste my time making my hashtag Make YouTube Great Again videos back in February, telling me that they wouldn't get YouTube to listen or change anything. Unlucky, mate!
Both Grade and his fans have always been quick to defend his content and deflate his haters by saying that he has changed YouTube for the better.
We never said he single-handedly changed YouTube for the better. Grade A Under A was just someone who was actually passionate about people making a change.
And that his social movements have been a great success. Specifically, I got several comments on the last video telling me that Grade was better than me and that I couldn't dislike his content because he helped make YouTube better.
While Grade A Under A hasn't changed YouTube completely, he made it so people could give more of a shit about YouTube improving instead of having a negative outlook on the website.
No, I didn't.
Bad touch! Bad touch, stranger danger.
About 3 months ago, PewDiePie released a video where he discussed the many problems that he has with the YouTube comment system. One of the things he suggested YouTube do is add an option to assign certain other accounts as moderators of different comment sections so that more than one YouTuber could be assigned to filter out spam for a video.
Can we please just have moderated comments? Please.
And within 2 weeks, YouTube announced that they were adding this as a feature.
PewDiePie has a high place in the YouTube community, so of course YouTube is going to listen to him more than Grade A Under A.
Okay, now go to Grade's Everything Wrong with YouTube video and point me to a single suggested change to the site that has actually been acted out. I can't think of a single thing.
He may not have impacted the site directly, but he did get people to care more about this website than they did before. And if nothing actually changed in the website itself, then that's YouTube's fault, not Grade A Under A's. And while he didn't improve the website himself, he did improve the community to think more progressively instead of hopelessly.
Oh, actually, just give me 1 sec. Oh look, Tyrone's channel is still up, and that's like most of his videos, so I guess no one really did listen.
Again, that's YouTube's fault, not Grade A Under A's.
What that means is that, objectively, PewDiePie himself, Fred 2.0, has done far more to help and change YouTube than Grade A Under A could ever even hope to. But Quinton, wasn't it really more about getting YouTube to notice these problems? To listen to us?
It was.
Well, they noticed. They sat down with you and they listened to you. And then they patted you on the head and walked right out the door. And that was 7 months ago, and we haven't heard a word since. But by God, keep showing off those 2 tweets. I mean, when leading a social movement, actually changing anything or doing what you set out to do, that's totally irrelevant.
You're comparing Grade A Under A to Martin Luther King Jr. Again, it's a bit of an overreaction. I mean, at least you're not demonizing him. Also, you say that YouTube listened and didn't do anything. While that is true, people nowadays have less respect and sympathy for YouTube, and rightfully so. Right now, anytime there's a problem, YouTube is to blame. So now, people can direct their anger at the right people in hopes change happens. And sure, it may not happen right away, but YouTube can't stay silent forever. It may not be this year, or the next year, or the year after that, but soon, YouTube will do something. I mean, this is the platform that hosts literal pedophiles, violated internet safety laws, and pushed the blame on the law instead of taking responsibility and markets adult content to children. They can't keep getting away with it. Who knows? Maybe YouTube will be investigated, and rightfully so. Either way, YouTube isn't going to be sitting on their ass for long.
What really matters is getting tweeted at by famous people. Like, at this point, I know I'm really harping on this one issue, but it's because he mentions it like every other video. You guys do realize that there's like an 85 to 90% chance that this woman didn't actually watch Grade's video? In fact, I'm going to go ahead and change that diagnosis. I'm going to boost that to 100%. I guarantee you she did not watch your video.
Even if she didn't, then now she can be held more accountable, which is one goal I see for Make YouTube Great Again. To hold YouTube accountable and make them change their website for the better. Again, they can't just keep sitting on their ass this whole time.
Because if she had, I absolutely assure you she would not have referenced you in any way. Because no one sits through 40 minutes of you ranting about Tyrone Magnus and then says, wow, we really need to attach ourselves to this video and send out the idea that we agree with everything that they've said. No. She got tweeted at by a bunch of Grade's fans. She thought it must be important because a lot of people were involved, so she just included it in her tweet to silence people, to get people to stop bothering her. That's what happened.
Again, it's about accountability. Also, you act like it's one video when there were 2. The other going more in depth. And you have no proof that she didn't watch it. Granted, we have no proof either, but you can't make a 100% claim that she didn't watch it when you have no proof.
Let's be real. Grade has several equally interesting and equally bullshit tactics to use whenever an opposing argument rises up into the playing field. One of his all-time favorite things to do is to present someone else's argument that he disagrees with,
and I still get people calling me a drama whore. Some people expected me to get involved in this drama for some reason.
link that argument to a person or persons,
All because of these three idiots. And guess who put that thought in people's heads?
The real question.
Are you taking the piss? You straight up spliced two different videos and left out context. Keemstar dragged Grade A Under A into the Leafy iDubbbz drama, despite him not being involved.
Fuck you, Grade. You and Leafy. Listen, like I said, right? I am not Leafy. I honestly cannot fucking believe that I'm having to explain this, right? But this guy is not this guy. And I'm getting dragged into drama that has nothing to do with me because of this. Like, for example, right, during the iDubbbz and Leafy is Here drama, despite me being neither of these two YouTubers, some people expected me to get involved in this drama for some reason. And guess who put that thought in people's heads?
The real question surrounding the iDubbbz versus Leafy drama. Where is Grade A Under A?
Where is Grade A Under A? He sat at home, scratching his ass, right? Minding his own fucking business, like you should be doing, you shit-stirring idiot. Seriously though, right? Why would I get involved? That's fucking dumb. I can't help but think that someone just wants to get me dragged into the negative drama.
and then proceed to spend the rest of the video attacking that figure. This way, he gets to rant about a YouTuber he doesn't like for 20 minutes, and at the end of the day, he can still say that it was analysis and commentary and not drama. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, because it's true. If your response to an argument is to ignore it and then to attack the character of the person saying it, then you aren't making an argument. You're activating the airlock and sucking all of the nuance and intelligence out of the room. You're making an anti-argument.
I mentioned in my last video that Grade A Under A did counter the points of those YouTubers when they were ranting about drama. But in your video, you purposely left those parts out.
I'm not saying the grade has to be wrong just because I disagree with his style of video making. In fact, the most disappointing thing is that I often do agree with his videos, but I simply can't bring myself to support an anti-argument.
Honestly, I feel the same with you. I agree with lots of points in your videos, but it seems that your points are getting shittier and shittier as time goes on.
Because it is the cancer of the commentary community. If Grade is going to talk about a topic or someone else's opinion, there's the odd sense amongst some people that he's thus removed it from existence. No matter how poorly he represents the argument or how badly he fails even then to actually explain why it's wrong, his fans will be sure to comment that the person who brings up the argument is a moron because Grade already wiped it off the table.
And if he cleared that up and apologized, then it should be all good. If the other person chooses not to forgive, then they don't have to. Either way, Grade A Under A cleaned up his act. You can't change the past, sure, but you can change the future. Grade A Under A can't undo what he did, but he did what he could to fix it.
It must be amazingly useful to be able to rebuild your opponents one strand of hate at a time so that they can be just light enough to easily battle, but just visually close enough to fool others into believing that the scale is correct. If you hear about this channel for the first time, you'll presume that they're all hacks who don't ask for permission and don't show highlights if they don't get the permission. But neither of those two things are true. This channel actually sets out to do both of those things and discusses the video at the end. If you know the full story on Grade, Leafy, and Keemstar, you'll question everything that he says in his latest video.
First of all, do you see this subtle difference? Yeah, I'm not Leafy. Leafy made this video for whatever reasons he did, right? But Leafy's reasons aren't my reasons. I love Reddit, but my subreddit, some of their fucking expectations are ridiculous. One person said, "Why do you like Keemstar? Why don't you hate Keemstar?" He was able to get an offer on the table for me that would have been worth 6 figures, like over $100,000. So why you made the video, Grade? He said some insanely racist shit against minorities, and he was also calling someone a pedophile. Oh, this wanker once called someone a nigger. They're okay, and it was on battle cams. You go on battle cams expecting that, but I'm not justifying it at all. But for this loser to tell me you shouldn't like someone who offered you a 6-figure deal because they've called someone the N-word in the past and they falsely accused someone of a paedophile for 3 hours, I don't give a fuck.
You're leaving out context. Grady Underay didn't mind Keemstar saying the N-word, but he did mind it when he said, and I quote, "I'm white, I run this world, you're black, you're my slaves." It's one thing to say the N-word, but it's another thing to say something like that. It's not about the word, it's about the intent. While I'm not black, I am a minority, so I have some experience when it comes to stuff like this. And as much as I hate to pull this card, I feel like it's necessary. You're white. You don't get to decide what we minorities get offended by. If I had a white friend who went on stream and said the term wetback, I'm not really going to care. It's one phrase. But if I heard they went to some other Hispanic person and said some shit like, "Go back to your own country," then yeah, I'm not going to be their friend anymore. I know you don't know since you aren't a minority like me and Grady Underay, but still, you don't get to decide what we minorities find offensive when you aren't a minority yourself. For now, I'm just going to show you this meme. As for the pedo accusations, at the time, it was only one time they made an accusation. So it could have just been an accident. But then Keemstar did it a bunch of times after.
Am I supposed to stay someone's friend after I see them ticking this many boxes? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
But if you've heard none of these facts outside of Grade's channel, you'll trust the assertion that Grade isn't Leafy and thus he isn't involved in the situation. Grade A Underay's arguments are only built to be sustainable in his pocket reality.
You're still going on about Grade A Underay playing a character? He isn't. We've been over this.
In the real world, his statements are inconsistent. In the actual YouTube landscape, he often comes across as hypocritical and inconsistent.
Keem's dog shit reporting and his false paedophile accusations, which is not only irresponsible as fuck and a shitty thing to do, right? But it's fucking illegal, which is not only irresponsible as fuck and a shitty thing to do, right? But it's fucking illegal.
Not only did you leave out context, you left out context in the worst possible way. In this exact video, Grade A Underay talks about how Keemstar told a 15-year-old to get naked on his live stream. Don't believe me? You can go right ahead and watch his exact video where Grade A Underay talks about it, because I'm sure as hell not going to show you a clip of that.
When reality is at play, it's hard to figure out what he's even trying to say. But if you're learning about the entire world and how the universe revolves around it from his point of view, then you're not going to notice any of these discrepancies. So why did I bring up Grade's character in the first video? Essentially, I had planned to talk about how the confusion of the supposed real-world self makes it hard to read how we're supposed to take many of his videos. It seems to me that if any other content creator talked about other users on YouTube in the same way, they simply would not get away with it.
Irony, considering how much your fans blindly side with you.
But this guy, apparently it's fine when he does it. Is it a joke? Is it serious? Does he want his fans to go after the people he makes fun of, or does he want them to realize that it's all just an act? No one seems to be able to answer these questions, and that's bothersome. Because whether people like to admit it or not, people look up to this cartoon character that's represented on Grade's channel. They see him as some sort of YouTube icon that represents prime values. If anything, the comments from my first video are the ultimate example of why this is a problem. Grade is a voice for YouTube. He's fixed YouTube. He is their idol, their role model.
I'm not repeating myself again.
His arguments are sound and absolute. He crushes all enemies and wins even if he doesn't raise a single finger. These are developing minds that look up to Grade and how he interacts with people.
Developing minds? I'm pretty sure Grade A Underay's videos aren't for children.
How he argues, what he says. This isn't something to take lightly. At least on other channels that attack people as a joke, they'll put a disclaimer or tell people occasionally to not take it too seriously and not to go after these people. But with Grade, there's no fog on the glass window.
He doesn't need to tell you the fucking obvious. The only reason I put the "don't harass people" in my description and at the start of the video is because I don't want to get sued. Grade A Under A's audience knows better not to harass people, so he doesn't need to point that out to them.
You see why this is a problem, right? Quinton, why don't you just close the tab? There's plenty of other videos on the internet. Why watch the ones you hate?
No one was making that point.
Because I'm a critic, and my job is to say if I like something or not. And I'm not going to distance myself from saying that something is bad just because it's inherently popular. You see, Grade's content is a lot like Futurama. People like to pretend that Futurama was sort of consistently great from the beginning to the end, but really somewhere in the middle it started to be totally unwatchable. But we really don't like to admit this because we like the idea of it being a perfect show that we'd love to see brought back. Grade's content is a lot like that. We all think positively of Grade. We want to look at him as a role model. We remember all those times that he landed on the front page of Reddit and how proud of him we were. We don't want to admit that he might have been wrong or he might have made a bad video. But just because you like it doesn't mean that I have to refrain from analyzing why I don't. If your response to every review that you ever see is to say, well, if you don't like it, then don't watch it, then I refuse to take you seriously. If you disagree with my points, bring some of them up. Describe your side of the situation.
Well, considering you were kind of an asshole to Grade A Under A in your videos, left out shit for the sole purpose of the fact that you don't like him, I'm gonna say that you can't exactly use "I'm a critic" as a shield for criticism. You say that people who are fans of Grade A Under A are blind because they don't view the facts from an outside perspective. But given how you edit all the parts that go against your argument, well, honestly, you're not a very good critic.
But don't say that I'm just an idiot for having this opinion, or that I don't have the right to an opinion, or that my opinion means less because I only have 1,000 subscribers. If you're not prepared to have a real discussion, then I'm not prepared to talk to you.
You sound like my mother.
Grade A didn't fall from grace or lose his groove because people stopped liking him. They didn't stop watching because he was an ass to his fans. The transition mainly happened because his videos started to be a whole lot weaker. It doesn't mean that he's ruined, or that he's wrecked or exposed. Honestly, if he just starts to make better content and stops being such a giant ass in every way, then I could see him making a rebound or a redemption or whatever you guys are going to call it. Will this happen? Can Grade ever really change? Is there life after drama? I don't know, man. I make fucking pizzas for a living. Jesus Christ.
Oh, so now you act all nice towards Grade A Under A. Despite how you basically left out context on purpose because it helped your argument, and you were a condescending asshole who even showed his face, despite how he doesn't like his face to be public on a mass scale. Yeah, you can't be all in high and mighty now. At first I thought your points were getting better, but now that the video is finished, I can safely say your points have not changed a bit. But don't worry, I still have one thing left to finish you off. This is my finisher. My Go Ranger Hurricane, my Power Blaster, my Ultra Beam, my Rider Kick. In other words,
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
Grade A Under A might not be the nicest person in the world, but at least he didn't say shit like this.
With the showrunners literally telling you to find the names and addresses of these specific 100 people and to then attack them with fire? For legal reasons, I have to say no. Dun, dun, dun. Another one bites the—
Good job, Quinton. You are way better than Grade A Under A. Let's just forget about all the good intention he has, and how he actually did debunk stuff. Since you're so brave to indirectly promote the doxing and murder of someone you don't like. It's one thing when Grade A Under A doesn't put shit in his description to not harassing people, but you full-on practically told people, "Hey, don't dox and murder this person I don't agree with!" That's all I have relating to Quinton. I don't think I'm gonna talk about him again. So, if you want more from me, you can watch my DeviantArt, and follow my Instagram. If you want to support the channel, you can donate to my Patreon. If If you don't want to talk directly to me, you can join my Discord server. And until next time, never ask me for anything ever again.
'Cause I'm a phone phone.